Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hassan Khurram, and in this channel I teach programming skills in Python, MATLAB and RProgramming. I also teach Tableau data visualization tool. So for today's video I'm going to show you how you can generate scatter plots in RProgramming using the libraries like Plotly. So it will be a highly useful video. You will be able to learn not only how to generate scatter plots, but how you can actually and effectively use the customizations of Plotly library in RProgramming. So we have a scatter plot that actually represents a graphical representation displays of two numerical variables as point in Cartesian coordinate system. It's primarily used to visualize the relationships, trends, correlation between variables. Okay, so there are a number of libraries that we can actually use. We have like BaseR, which uses plot function to generate the scatter plot. Then we have ggplot2, which uses tilde inverse, and ultimately we use Plotly, and which we are going to use in this tutorial in order to generate the scatter plot. So in order to use the Plotly, the first of all we have to make sure the Plotly library is installed in our environment. So for this purpose we are using this statement here, install.packages, and within round brackets we are passing the input argument Plotly as a string input. Once we install that, what we are going to do, we are going to call that library. So we are using here this statement library and round brackets Plotly. We have called the library into an environment. Now once we done that, the next thing we have to do, in order to generate any plot, we have to generate data. So we have, this is what we have actually done here in this section of code. So the first line here, it says set.seed and within round bracket 42. So this is for the reproducibility, like whenever the code is run again and again, you will have the same kind of randomly generated data irrespective on what PC this script is run. That being done, so we have to declare two variables x and y, and we have to assign a value. We have to assign some data to it. So how we are defining that, you can look at this statement x equal to which is like a form of equal to in RProgramming. So we are calling function runIf, and we are passing three input arguments. So runIf, what it actually does, it creates a randomly generated values between a minimum value and maximum value. So we define a range, and then you let it know that how many values I want to be generated randomly. So the first value 50 actually denotes how many elements you want to generate, and the next two input arguments, which are in the form of key value, which defines what is the minimum value and what is the maximum value. So here minimum is equal to 0 and max is equal to 10. So after that you will have a set of 50 values that lie between 0 to 10, and they will be randomly generated. And as for y, we say that y is a function of x by using this statement to multiply by x. So every element in x will be multiplied by 2. And we doesn't stop there. We are also adding some random noise to the data by using this statement here, by calling the function rrom, that actually generates random data based on random distribution. Okay, and first input argument would be the number of elements we want to generate, and the next two input arguments are actually the mean and standard deviation. What would be the mean and standard deviation of that specific distribution that you want to generate with rnorm. Okay, now that being done, we have x and y. Now we are good with it, like we can generate our scatter plot with this only two values. But let's move on and do a little bit more of customization in order to generate data. Let's say we are also interested to assign an additional value, that is we want to have different sizes for every data point in the scatter plot. Okay, so we are able to achieve that by us declaring array of matrix that will have 50 values that will be different from one another. Okay, so in order to do that, we are first initializing a variable named sizes, and we are calling the function runIf. That will again generate 50 set of random values between the value 10 and 50. So that way we have like 50 different values Okay, now in the same way we will have we can actually define the colors as well. So here we are using the function rainbow, where rainbow is actually a palette, and we are taking 50 values out of that palette. Okay, now that being done, we have successfully generated our data. Let's move on and actually plot the figure. So in order to plot the figure, we are assigning a variable fig. Okay, and we are calling the function plotly_ly. After that, we will pass a set of input arguments. The first input argument is actually to define the data, which is our x and y values. So this is how you define the data. So x is equal to not x and comma, y is equal to yx. That after defining that, we will write comma. Then we have to define the type of plot that we want to generate through plotly. In our case, we are type is equal to scatter, and here mode is equal to markers. So by setting mode is equal to markers, we are actually telling that we don't want to plot the lines in the scatter plot, only we want markers or circles. Then after comma, we are going to define some additional properties of markers in the form of list. So markers is equal to list, and we have like defined size is equal to sizes. If you recall that, we said that every point will have a different kind of size in the plot, and we are setting color is equal to colors, which we have already defined. And finally, we are setting opacity is equal to 0.8. It means that every circle will have opacity transparency of 0.8, so it will be a slightly transparent. And finally, for the hover our text, what we have here defining text is equal to paste. So this is like a kind of a notation you do in plotly library to actually define the hover our text. Okay, text is equal to paste. Here x will be constant and a variable value around x comma 2. So whatever the value of x we will have, it will be rounded to 2. And then I think br is for like the next line. So we have y and its value y comma 2. Okay, that being done, for those of you who are kind of getting confused about the definition or the why there's a list here, I request you to go and watch my fundamental videos. Obviously this video is not for like the fundamentals, but but it gives you an idea here. Okay, so if you kind of bother about these kind of things, I have had a highly detailed tutorial regarding the fundamentals of R programming, so go and check that videos as well. So once we done that, we are going to close our round brackets. After that, then we are again initializing a variable fig, and we are calling fig, and we are using this operator. Okay, and it's like we are defining an additional set of input argument to this function here, so which is the layout. In the layout, we are defining the title is equal to this is the title, then comma, we are defining the label of x-axis and y-axis, and this is defined in this format. And finally, we are setting hover mode is equal to closest, so it ensures that it will only show the data of only that circle that is closest to the cursor. And finally, we are using fig to actually display the plot. So this is how the plot will look like. We have y values, we have x values, and you know, as I've already told you, that every data point will have a different size, and also the color as well, which is taken from the palette which is known as rainbow. Okay, now that's been done. Well, congratulate yourself, you are able to actually make a scatter plot in R programming using the plotly library. Now let's move on. Now the next part of the video is for people who actually want to generate scatter plot, but it's also for those people who want to improve their skills in using plotly library in R programming, because I'm going to teach you a lot of customization here as well. So first of all, we are going to call the library plotly. Okay, this three set of statements and the color sizes will remain the same. The only difference here, in order to generate the data for the plot, is here colors. Here, instead of like generating the value, taking values out of some predefined palette, what we are actually here doing, we are using the package scale, and we are calling this function called numeric. What it actually does, it actually maps the numeric value to a specific color in the form of gradient. Okay, so this is like the input notation of this call numeric function. It takes the palette, what would be the type of palette, whether you want red, blue, whether you want red or something. Then it defines the domain, and it also says like what would be the color if there is null value present. So here in this case we have defined green. Okay, so you can see that we have defined the palette to be blue and domain is equal to null. So basically it means that obviously for a color palette you have some minimum value, you have some maximum value. When we set domain is equal to none, we actually specifying that you choose that minimum and maximum value automatically from the data we are providing you. And what is the data we are providing? We are providing this y. Okay, so this is how you can actually can map the data to some color gradient. Now that being done, we are going to use the same notation. So we are done with data generation. Let's move on and actually use the plotly statement. Fig equal to plotly underscore ly. We define the data, then we define the type, and finally we define the properties of markers in the form of list. We have sizes, colors, opacities, and here we are passing an additional input argument, which is line is equal to line, width is equal to 2, and color is equal to black, which is this will actually define the border around the circles of the scatter plot. And finally we are defining the hover our text here. Text is equal to paste. As you have seen, this is already the same thing as we have defined earlier. So I think this sign here BR actually defines that you want to display the text in the next line. And yeah, the sign. So it basically will generate 3 values, x, y, and size. Okay, and hover info is equal to text. It makes sure that every value is displayed here. So then we are going to customize the layout as well. So we are calling fig and we are using fig and this operator that is actually just to define additional option to the already existing variable. Okay, so in the layout we have this is the layout to define. You have title, we have x-axis and y-axis. Here is a bit of modification has been done, like here we are also defining what would be the size of the title plot and what would be the color of that specific title in the plot, and the same goes for x-axis and y-axis label. So here hover our mode is equal to set to closest, and what we are actually defining here, we are setting the color of the background to be light gray. So plot background BG for background color, RBG, this is a specific notation for light gray color, and finally paper color. So basically we are defining the size that is outside the area of the plotting space. Here we are setting it to wide, and finally we are going to show the plot. So this is a highly customized plot that you get after all this customization. So you can see that we have x values, we have y values, background is gray. When you hover over to a circle, you see we have x, y, z, x, y, and size values, and you can see that the circles are being bordered by black line and they are highly transparent. And you can see based on the y of values, the values of y that are close to 0 are quite of, I had light texture to blue, and the values that are quite high in y that has a dark value of blue. So this is how you actually generate scatter plot and do the customization through plotly. So I hope this tutorial have been helpful. If you have any question, feel free to write down your comments. I will be happy to help you out. And I also provide freelance services and teach programming to students on one-to-one basis, like on through live coding sections. So if you are into kind of this stuff, like feel free to contact me through my contact details, through my Facebook channel, or even through my website. I will be happy to help you out. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch you soon in the next video.